Acock 45. Couple of pretty revolvers on the table, and they're both, well, you already know because you can read. They are Model 19s. We got a Model 19.3 and a Model 19.9. And with these two particular specific revolvers, there's almost 50 years separating them. Hard to believe, isn't it? Really early 70s, 71, 2, something like that. And then here we have 2018, a new one called a Classic, the Model 19 Classic. You've seen the other videos, maybe, I hope. We've done a separate video with this, a couple, with this one, the new one. Done one with that one. And if you like 357 Magnum, you enjoy these old guns and even the new versions of them, you like revolvers, be sure you check out those videos. Okay, I'll link to at least one or two of them in the description. Maybe 3 or 4 of them. Anything we've done maybe with these, if I remember. Especially the chapter 2 we did with the new one. Okay, because we had a little problem with the first one we got, and then in the chapter 2, it was kind of an update, and this is it. While we still have it, we wanted to do a comparison. But this is the E-Gunner 357 Magnum Model 19-9 Classic. Okay, so, and it's done fine. It's done fine, and we'll shoot a couple times here in this endeavor. So before we get too far afield, thought before we got rid of this, since I have both, it would be worthwhile to just do a short comparison. And a lot of you already know the differences, but let me point them out, at least most of them, and kind of give you my take. All right, this is a brand new firearm, 2018, the Model 19 Classic. In fact, just came out, I think, introduced around NRA meeting in Dallas, I think, in 2018, in the spring. And then this one goes back to the early 70s. They're both Model 19 Smith & Wesson. So they brought it back. This is their Classic series. You've already seen probably some of the other firearms. We did a 44 of it, I think, a while back. And since we have a real Classic and we have the Classic series, we thought we'd do a comparison, all right? And let you know kind of what you're getting into, is, at least from my perspective, best I can tell. For one thing, I guess the bottom line is, you're getting a firearm that looks a lot like the original, at least from a distance. It's blue, 357 Magnum K-frame, okay? And they're both great guns. They feel good. The K-frame always feels good. The grips are a little thinner on this one, but they feel fine. You'll probably like them better than the thicker ones, unless you have a big hand like me. They feel good, pretty good action. No major complaints. Loads and shoots the same, basically. You got a red ramp sight on this one, which you don't always have on all of the Classics. Some of them did, some didn't. I wish that one did. And roughly the same sights and just in operation. Okay, so, and you got newer technology. This is probably built a little bit stronger. Okay, 50 years later, you got a ball of detent there. It locks up in the front of the cylinder, whereas the old ones didn't. So it kind of acts like it sticks. You're having to open up a little bit more there. So it's probably a little stronger, and because of the design of it, the forcing cone in there doesn't have that flat part on the bottom of it. So you could argue that's maybe stronger as well. The back of the barrel, the forcing cone, doesn't have that flat part on it. Yeah, I was going to say, I didn't see it. You may not be able to see that well, but just a little bit less meat on the bottom of the forcing cone. And that's one of the criticisms of the Smith & Wesson K-frames. They have, okay, we're back. John was trying to signal me there. He didn't have his ears or his glasses even nearby, so I didn't know what he was trying to, he was signaling to me. So anyway, now he's got his ears and his eyes, so we can shoot if we want to. But as I was saying, the forcing cone is one of the weaknesses, supposedly, of the K-frame Smith & Wesson in 357 Magnum, because it's a high pressure round, and that back of the barrel is not as thick. If you look at a L-frame 357, the end frames, you got more beef back there on the back part of that barrel, and because it's going through into the frame. The front of the barrels, of course, are thick on both of them. That one's sleeves, so that's a different matter, right? You got more thickness, of course, but back at the forcing cone, which is the back of the barrel, it's not as thick, and it can crack. And so it's always been kind of the conventional wisdom. It's hard to beat the K-frame, which is what these are, that size frame and revolver. They just feel great. They shoot great. They fit most people's hands wonderfully. However, if you're going to shoot a steady diet of hot 357 Magnum ammunition, it's been conventional wisdom. You probably want an L frame or an N frame back before the L frame came around, okay? Because there were some people that cracked the forcing gun just from that intense pressure over and over. You know, I had one of these, as I said in an earlier video, and fired it a lot with all kinds of ammo. I never had any trouble, and I know a lot of people have not. So don't think if you buy a K-frame, you're going to automatically crack your forcing gun, because it doesn't happen to everybody, but it can. It's a point of, I don't know about weakness, but you know, it could happen. So a little stronger on this one. But it is hard to beat that size in the K-frame. And let me load both of them up with Magnums. We'll start out with Magnum. We're not going to shoot a lot, but I'll shoot Magnums in both of them. We have shot the heck out of this one. And get 6 rounds here and load him up. Just great size firearm, great feeling, hard to beat. Whether it's new or old, if you're looking for a revolver, you know, these are not a bad choice. They're expensive. You know, this runs around $800 to $900, this new one. And those are the same. You know, if you find an old one, they're going to be expensive. They may be 12 or 15, depending on the condition. Okay, or they might be the same price. So that's another concern. So we have 6 rounds. And why don't we just do the honors of shooting that pumpkin. I'll go double action. Knocked him off. Moving target. Now let's smoke a little pot. Get my arm out of it. Let's put one on the target from both of them. We'll see which one hits the hardest. Let's stop now. Yeah, we'll stop on the stop sign. Now, I don't shoot like that generally. You know, that is like, talk about amateur. If you ever see somebody shooting a handgun like that, but I'm still nursing my broken hand, just taking care of it. You know, I'm not going to shoot a lot with both hands. And Magnum handguns. Okay, that's what that was about. So, yeah, we've been shooting this thing a lot today. And so yeah, shoots great. And again, the very first video on this, we had some issues. This one has been fine. And so in its second video and some shooting outside the video, a lot of shooting outside the video, it's doing fine. Smith & Wesson makes good guns. We all know that. Let's shoot some Magnums in this one. This one is early 70s. Notice the recessed cylinders. That's one of the differences. The recessed chambers, counterboard. I pointed that out with various Smiths before. All right, let's pick off a few things like that 2-liter. Woo! If I can hit that one or not. We'll save that one in case we shoot some more 38s or something. Sights are pretty much right on with this one and that one, I think. They're both great shooters, of course, because they're both the same firearm, essentially. Okay? And as far as specifics, and I think a lot of it comes down to whether you're an old guy, you're a middle-aged guy, gal, or you're a young person to some extent, how much the differences bother you. Okay? Now for me, I am bothered by a lot of things about this firearm and would probably not own one, all right? Now that sounded kind of harsh, but mainly because I have the real classics and I'd rather put the same money in a classic because you can get one. In fact, I think I have about the same money in this one as this one, and I would much rather have the originals, okay? And they both are going to be great shooters. In fact, this one, new one, is probably going to hold up better, generally speaking, for some of the reasons I mentioned. Newer steel, it's got a sleeve barrel, And I don't know if that makes a big difference. I think it's actually a heavier barrel. It feels a little heavier. I should have weighed them. It did. I seemed to notice a little difference in recoil. It didn't seem to recoil quite as much as my old one. All right, with those Magnum rounds. So maybe you have a little more heft. I know you got a little thicker barrel. I'll hold them up here. This one will just show you some of the differences you're getting because you've got a sleeve barrel. So you've got that shroud on the left. The left one is the new one, the classic model, as it's called. It actually has a little bit longer barrel, doesn't it? It's not. I think it's 4 1/4, and so it's a little thicker. Got that shroud sleeve barrel, so they can work on them easier. A lot of the new Smith & Wessons are like that. They have that sleeved barrel. Okay, it's a stainless steel barrel in there, and if they have to work on or change out the barrels, supposedly it makes it easier, and it probably makes it cheaper to build, to make. Okay, and so that's one of the biggest differences. And then of course the obvious thing is that makes a lot of people gag is the key lock, you know, that you got right there, you know, so which they didn't put on the old ones. And as I have said before, I don't know why in the world they put that on the classic models, because you can buy a 642, maybe some other Smith & Wesson models that don't have that. So if they can get by without putting it on any of their revolvers, I don't know why they don't get by and not put it on their classic line. You know? But yeah, so those are probably the most offensive things: the key lock, the sleeve barrel, in terms of changes, perhaps. Now you also have, of course, your frame-mounted firing pin. Now that's been around for a while on Smith & Wessons, but I forget which dash they started doing that, but that's been a while. And of course you're going to have more MIM, well, you're going to have MIM parts, you know, the hammer, trigger, and I'm not sure what all else. It seems to work okay. I mean, you don't hear about people, you know, triggers breaking and hammers breaking because they're MIM parts. Depends on how you do it, as I understand. But some people are put off by that. They like the old firearms because there's, like, dare I say, there's not an MIM part in this firearm anywhere. Okay, and you got your hammer-mounted firing pin. There's your firing pin, the old style. Maybe it's more likely to cause trouble or break, you know that. So you could look at that as an improvement, or not. You know, in the newer Smith & Wessons. You know, frame-mounted firing pin is not a new innovation. The old Pythons, you know, have a frame-mounted firing pin, if you've ever seen one or owned one. So that's the difference. The finish is pretty nice on both of them, I think. Now, one thing I forgot to mention in the original video, this one is actually a round butt. You notice the gap there. So you got frames that make it a square butt like that one, but it's a round butt if you want to put smaller grips on one of these. That's one thing you could do with this that you can't do with the old ones. You could put a smaller grip. Okay, I will take the grips off. You probably know what a round butt Smith & Wesson grip looks like. Okay, so you could, and it comes down, you know, like right to there, kind of in that area. And but they configure these kinds of grips so they'll fit on either one, square butt or a round butt. So that might be an advantage for you. You might just rather have newer metallurgy. There were some other differences. The cylinder latch, they've gone back, and the cylinder latch is a lot like the old ones. It's not quite. You can see the difference there, but they came kind of close. You know, the cylinder latches you see on Smith & Wessons now, you know, are quite different from that. And now in this one, they have a different ejector rod in a way, you know, where it hits. It's smaller, kind of in diameter. You see the difference there, and locks up differently. You know, it doesn't have the pin up here in the under the barrel shroud there on the new ones. Instead, you got that ball detent system there. It helps it lock up right there. Okay. You know, I think nice looking gun, generally speaking. It's a lot of it is just in the way it's made differently, and in the key lock, you know. So what else is obviously different? Let's shoot some 38 specials. Something else might come to me. I'll shoot some of these in each one. Okay. Again, if you've ever fired a K-frame Smith & Wesson, you know, you're just you know the joy of it, don't you? You notice the trigger I'm about to pull, the back of it's kind of cut out. That's a little different. I guess doesn't really make much difference. That might have to do with how it's molded, you know, if it's an MIM part, you know. But so you got some things that are different. Some might be better, some might not be. Some might be more offensive to us, right? So as I have said before, I'm always glad to see gun companies come out with these guns that are more like the old ones, but I wish if they were going to do it, they'd go all the way, you know, and actually replicate this thing. And the price might just be prohibitive, you know. All right, we've got a 2-liter still standing. We still have a 2-liter standing. We have a gong that has not been rung yet. All right. Sweet sound. Might try to hit a pig while I'm doing this. See if I can roll that oinker. Guess I can't. Not today. Maybe with the other one. All right. I rang that gong though. It got its bell rung, right? It reminds me of the fun I used to have teaching with ring, rang, rung, drink, drank, drunk, and all that. I try to fool kids into thinking that bring, brang, brought, or bring, brang, brung was correct. It was always fun. Work them into that. But I digress. There was something I was going to add about it, and you let me forget what I was going to say. You really did. Anybody out there remind me? 38 specials. Didn't have anything to do with that. Oh well, it might come to me. Okay, let's shoot them in this too. And that's one of the beauties of the 357 Magnum. I always point out how you can shoot so many different types of ammunition. Well, not types. 38 special, 357 Magnum. But different power factors and different bullet designs. You know, just all. I've even got some on the table here. There's I think some. I don't know, like any of those lead round. You know, round those lead bullets and, you know, just things like that. If my hand was totally healed, I'd do a little dual wielding here. You know, I'm in the mood to do it, but I guess I won't. My orthopedist might get upset. All right. Maybe I can get that pig with this. There we go on the last round. All right. Well, I know one thing I was going to say, and I'll let you go here because most of you got to get to supper and that pizza is ready and everything. You know, we can give Smith & Wesson a hard time if we want to, can't we? Because this is a beautiful thing to me. And this is pretty, but there's enough changes. It's not a beautiful thing. And like I said, personally, I wouldn't buy it, but a lot of people would. You know, I mean, wow, all I have to do is look at the comments on that Chiappa Rhino video. I mean, so many things people are not bothered that bother me, and a revolver especially, you know. But so I'm only speaking for myself, but they're trying to defend Smith & Wesson. Okay, why would you build this atrocious thing? Because it's not enough like this, right? From that school of thought, let's defend them a little bit. Okay, let's say they can't. Let's just assume, being nice, there's really no way they could gear up and reproduce this revolver. You know, some of the machining, even the tools maybe, the skill to do it, they don't even have in the plant anymore. You know, perhaps. I'm just thinking out loud, you know, I don't know. You know, they quit making hammers like this so long ago. There's nobody in that place that could even do it. They don't even have the tooling to do that, the mold, whatever it takes. They haven't done that in so long. Fitting that, no one has fit a hammer-mounted firing pin maybe in 20 years, 30 years at Smith & Wesson. Yeah, so that's kind of the point I'm making. It just might be literally impossible, even if they wanted to, you know, to spend the money. This would be almost impossible, especially to produce hundreds of them or thousands, to meet demand. So it just, maybe it's totally not feasible, in their defense. Okay, and if they did all that, they've already run the numbers, and it would be $1,900, to do it. And while there would be some people who would be able and willing maybe to pay that if they did a great job and it was just like this, even the pin barreled, maybe counterbore cylinder, there would maybe only be 100 of them or 500 people, not enough to put it into production. So in their defense, I'm trying to think of reasons, of why they just can't do it. They've started making the sleeve barrels. They've gone to the frame mounted firing pin long ago, and all the things that are in this revolver. They just can't do it. So I'm saying maybe, they just couldn't do that. There's almost no way, perhaps. All right. So try and be a devil's advocate there. But on the other hand, on the negative side, as I wrote on the target, this is kind of a Model 19 classic, which is this one, quote unquote, versus Model 19 real classic. This is the real classic. To me, this is just a Model 19-9. That's a Model 19-3. They quit making them, I think, in 1999. Okay, and I guess that was -8, I suppose. So one option would have been, okay, we're going to reintroduce a Model 19 this year, and we've changed a couple of things, and it's time for, which the sleeve barrel, I guess, would be one big change, right, since 1999. And so this is the Model 19-9. Maybe they wouldn't catch as much grief. We're just coming back out with the 19-9, and here are the changes we made. That word classic, I think it rubs a lot of people maybe the wrong way, because it's sort of classic, but not really, right? So I'm going to let you all go, and let me know if I've forgotten to tell you anything that you wanted to know about this firearm. Okay? Like I said, I think I pointed out the main things, the things I have neglected. Some of y'all pointed out in the comments. And if you have experience with the new classic yet, let us know what you think about it. If you would buy one, if you have bought one, how you like it, how it shoots, that sort of thing. What is it that you like about it, maybe over the old ones? And what is it about it that is the reason you would not buy it, other than cost or price? Okay, let's not rationalize. Now, it may be a firearm that, $900, there's no way you're going to buy it either way. But if you had the money, someone handed you $800 or $900 that you got to go buy a 357 Smith & Wesson, or you got to look for one of these or a new one, or what would you do with that money, and why? So I don't know, just interested in what your thinking is. I am biased, I admit. John and I have our own biases. We're just not, it's just never driven by gun companies. Okay, that's something we can promise you. But we do have our own preferences and our own biases based on lots of years of experience shooting. So in a lot of ways, my bias is going to be different than most people's, because I cut my teeth on these guns right here, as I've said before, and that's what a Smith & Wesson ought to be. So I'm obviously starting out, biased, and there you go. So anyway, but it's a good gun, and we don't want to give them too hard a time. It's kind of like Marlin. I want to give Marlin a hard time, but I want him to keep making guns and get better at doing it the old way, the way they used to make them. And I don't want to give Smith & Wesson too hard a time. I'm glad they have this classic series, and they're making these firearms, and I'm sure they're selling quite a few of them, and a lot of happy customers, And I love to see people get into revolvers. So get you one and shoot them. So anyway, and I'll end with my final sales pitch: shoot a revolver if you can. Rent one at a range sometime if you've never fired a revolver. And if you think you might want one, 357 is a good choice, because you don't have to shoot real. This is pretty warm ammo for just kind of range ammo, but it's not crazy warm. But I would recommend, if you haven't shot a lot, shoot some 38 specials, some plus P's, and some light magnums, and shoot some hot magnums, whatever you want to shoot. But it's a good choice in a cartridge and a chambering for a revolver if you think you'd like a revolver. It's just a great choice. So anyway, the classic versus the real classic. Just thought while we have them both, while we have this one, that we would just devote a little time to pointing out the differences. Okay. So now I'm gonna get my key out of my pocket and I'm gonna lock this revolver so nobody can use it. Now, appreciate y'all coming by. We appreciate your support, and be sure you go to the video, the original on this one, then the chapter 2, okay? And we've got a video on that one too. And make sure you're not missing some videos. There's all kinds of genius on our channel, and you might have missed some little piece of it somewhere. It could have changed your life, and you don't even know it. You're just clueless. Yeah, just living your life in a clueless state because you didn't see something on our channel yet. Maybe you'll find it. Life is good.
That's not bad. Oh hey, just measuring this 15-shot group. Since I've got you here, I want to remind you to check out our friends over SDI and Talon Grips. SDI is a fully accredited online distance learning program where you can get an associate's degree in firearms technology or become certified in gunsmithing. So check them out at sdi.edu. They also accept GI Bill, so be aware of that. Talon gun grips, you may be aware of those. Dad's been using them for a long time. Essentially a grip tape that goes around the grip of your handgun, just like this, around the grip, and gives you a much better grip, and you're not stuck with basically the grip that comes from the factory on the pistol, because it's not like the old days with 1911s where you just change out the grips. A lot of these more modern handguns don't give you that option, so you have to either just stick with what you got or wrap something around the outside. So check them out if it makes sense for you. And also, don't forget to go to our website, hickok45.com. We have a bunch of stuff over there for you guys to check out. We actually have our videos now on gunstreamer.com, so please check that out. Don't forget about our social media. Don't forget to look in the description also. There's a lot of information there. The description of the video and the website, hickok45.com. But our social media at The Real Hickok45 on Instagram, Hickok45 on Facebook and Twitter. There's John_Hickok45 on Instagram, but you can't guess who that is. What else? I think that's all I was going to tell you guys. Oh yeah, our merchandise. You can find our merchandise at bunkerbranding.com. We have this shirt, at least as I'm making this video, available. And we've got some hats. Just go check it out. It's going to change what we have available at different times. So if you like something, maybe go ahead and jump on it. But the main thing is hickok45.com, and support the people who support us whenever it makes sense for you. As always, I really appreciate you guys still watching these videos after so long and so many years. It means so much to us, and it's been such a fun experience. And we appreciate you guys, and see you later.